Okay, so last recording we put together this game where I've got two players, but it was a lot of work. I had to do all of this stuff again, and if I wanted to add a third player, oh my, I'd have to do even more. I'd have to have another four of these. I'd have 12 if statements to deal with. And programmers, the best skill to have as a programmer is to be a lazy person, okay? Because if we're lazy, then we're going to find the most efficient way to do something. And the most efficient way to do a player like this is using something called a class. So I'm going to call the class player, okay? And a class, that is how you define just a very basic class. Now, the first thing we need to do is do a constructor as well. So, whenever we create a new player, the constructor is going to construct, it's going to build the object, right? And in this case, an object is going to be a player, okay? Now, if we look, what are the essential things we need to know about a player? Okay, so some of the most basic things that we need to know is basically what is right here in the rect, right? We need to know the x, the y, the width, and oh, excuse me, I have accidentally overwritten some things. The width, which I'll say is w, and the height. They're the basic things that this rectangle needs, okay? Now, what we usually would do is say let to define variables. But with a class is kind of like a recipe, all right? It's a blueprint. We're going to be able to create multiple versions of this class depending on where we want the player to start, how big we want the player to be, etc., etc. So what we do is we say this.x. Now, this refers to the specific instance, the specific version of the object. And we're going to just do this.x, y, this.w, and this.h. Is going to be equal to h. So we're just going to set them equal to the variable that we get in here. Okay, that's pretty easy. It's pretty standard. Now, we want probably a draw function in here. Now, this constructor is a function. It doesn't say function in front, but because of the way we wrote it inside the class, it is a function. And it gets run, much like the setup function gets run at the start of the game, the constructor function gets run at the start of making a player. Now, the draw function doesn't specifically get run every time this draw function does. It's like any other function. I could name this donkey, and it would function the same as draw, okay? But the draw, well, what are we doing in here? Well, function draw background. Okay, we're probably going to draw the background with a player, but we are drawing a rectangle, aren't we? So we're going to draw the rectangle in the draw function, and we want the x to be, well, this.x, okay? And that's why we did this here, because this.x means that it's available to everything. You remember how we had that scoping thing with the variables? We need to put it in the object, okay? And that's what this does. So this.y, this.w for width, and this.h for height. Okay, and we're going to put our semicolon at the end. Let's see how that goes. I mean, we've still got to do this, but let's see whether we can create a new player. So when we create a new object, we want to do it in the setup function, okay? And I'm going to say player1 is equal to, now we want to create a new player, so we use the new keyword, we use the name of the class, which in this case is player, and we're going to, well, what do we need to provide? We need to provide the x. Okay, so we're going to go 400, 500 for y, width, let's make it 80, and let's make it 40 high, and let's put a semicolon at the end of that. Lovely. So now I've got that player. Let's press play. Is there any... there's no difference. Well, that's because we only made one player, we declared it in the setup function. What do you think we might need to do to get it to show up? If you selected player.draw like this, player1.draw, you would absolutely be correct. There we go. So I've got that down there. Now, I haven't set up any keys for this. So I can only move the old ones that I had, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this, okay? And I'm going to put this in the draw function, okay? And if I hit tab on my keyboard, that allows me to indent all of the things. Like if I hit tab here, it will take it in, okay? Now, we don't want to adjust player 1 X or Y. We want to adjust this dot X instead because, well, we're talking now about the player that we're working with, not the player 1 here. So we do this dot Y instead. And let's see what happens. Okay, so we've got that one still moves. This one moves. If I had left this now this one doesn't move, and that's because I cut and pasted this in here. Okay, so let's remove this now. Okay, we'll get rid of that. Let's get rid of these, and let's get rid of this because we don't need it. We've got our player class. Now I'm going to make player 2. Okay. Oh, there we go. Player 2 is a new player. Now I'm going to make it 100, 100. I'm going to make it, well, we'll go 25, 50, similar to the other one. Okay. All right. Oh no, what's happened? I forgot to do player2.draw. There we go. Lovely. But I have a slight issue. And the slight issue here is that when I control it, all of these go with them. Not ideal. I'm going to leave it as an exercise to you to figure out how we might have to modify the class to allow us to tell the computer what keys we want to use for each of the players. I would suggest that looking at the constructor would be a good idea, but then you'll have to also modify something about all of these if statements as well. So I'll leave that to you to figure out. If you need any help, let me know.